Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Dad-At-Arms channel. I'm your host, Colt the Dad-At-Arms, and joining me today we have Tim Seeley and Freddie Williams II, and we are going to be talking about the upcoming Sword of Flaws comic book miniseries from Dark Horse Comics. How you guys doing?
Good.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
We're doing good.
Yeah. Well, like I already introduced you, and people who watched the show before have seen you guys on here before, but just for anybody who might be tuning in who's new, could you guys kind of introduce yourselves real quick and tell people what you do?
Go for it, Tim.
Start with you. Yeah.
I'm Tim Seeley. I am a comic book writer and artist, and next week I'll be a full-time professor in college, so there's that too. But I've worked on Masters of the Universe a whole bunch, from Art of He-Man up through Injustice and Turtles and I don't even remember Multiverse, Masters of the Multiverse, and then I'm writing this with the Gray Freddie.
Aren't you also writing the new Ninja Turtle Godzilla crossover too?
Indeed.
That's cool.
Got one issue left.
You lucky so and so.
Man, I mean, when they pitched it to me, I was like, "Oh, that's a Freddie book, right?" And they're like, "Well, we've got Freddie on like 8 things." So
yeah, there's a lot of schedule stuff. So, but I feel like that's an opportunity that I missed. But okay, so I'm Freddie Williams. I'm been known for a bunch of crossover stuff in the last like 10 years. So, Batman, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, Thundercats, the Turtles of Grayskull, which is He-Man, and the Ninja Turtles that Tim and I worked on. Injustice versus Masters of the Universe, which Tim and I worked on. Godzilla, Power Rangers, and stuff. I think that catches us up. I did a bunch of stuff before that, but no one ever remembers that stuff. That's a long time ago. So I act like it didn't happen.
Cool. Now, in terms of like specifically He-Man stuff, Freddie, you've also worked on some of the mini comics recently, correct?
Oh, sure. Yes. Yeah, I did.
I know the Thundercats and and all the Turtles of Grayskull. Is that right?
Yes, and also there's a flip book that was a Too Bad, the character Too Bad from Masters of the Universe. There was a flip book that I did of his origin, which I know came out as a San Diego exclusive of 2024, but I don't know if it was just in that edition of the toy or if it was later used somewhere else as well. But that was like a very interesting storytelling challenge because it was the same story told by each of them, Tuvar and Badra, who were combined to make Too Bad. But of course, since they're telling the story, they're telling it in different ways. So it's like seeing the same scene, but of course, they're always more heroic or cooler than the other guy. They're always the best person in the story or something. So that was very fun. But those are quite a few pages of mini comics. The Turtles of Grayskull stuff was like 7 different waves of mini comics. So all that's really fun. I'm hoping that stuff, a lot of that will be collected later on. I like to see it in one big volume.
If I remember correctly from the last time we talked, when we were talking about Turtles of Grayskull, I think you had told me that they're going to collect those mini comics into the trade paperback.
Yeah, the Turtles of Grayskull comics are supposed to be collected in. I'm not sure if it will get the Shredder San Diego 2025 exclusive. I just don't know.
Okay.
I felt like at the time they were saying all 6 volumes or all 6 waves rather, but Shredder technically is a 7th wave, so I just don't know. But I think everything else will be collected. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Cool. Seeing it all together.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, awesome. Cool. Well, welcome back to the show, as we said earlier. Let's just kind of jump right into it and talk about these the new comics. So you just finished up with the Turtles of Grayskull, which was a lot of fun. It's probably too early to ask about that, but is there any possibility that we'll see any follow-up to like a second part of that story?
I'd
love to.
Yeah, I'd love to too. We haven't heard anything, and I feel like, the priority out of Dark Horse was, let's make sure we set up a Master Universe ongoing before the Netflix stuff dropped, the new movie. So I think that was kind of our main goal here, which is why we did Sword of Flaws instead. But if they asked us about Turtles of Grayskull, I'd drop other shit to do that again.
I feel similar. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sort of flaws, but
yeah,
awesome.
I get what you mean though. Like we always have something kind of cooking in the background, stuff, either smaller commitments or stuff that we have that's kind of been germinating for a while, and that's the kind of stuff that you drop or push to the side to make room for it for sure. But the Turtles of Grayskull, when Tim and I were planning or just talking story and stuff at the very beginning, so like a year ago or something, there was a bunch of stuff, just a whole bunch of ideas that we had that would definitely work for a second volume or a third volume and stuff. So we have a lot more story that we'd love to tell. So if given the opportunity, I'd jump all over it.
Cool. That's what I like to hear. So yeah, let's jump in with Sword of Flaws. Now this is based on how it's been described and what you guys told me last time. This is kind of a throwback to the vintage era. Kind of the story being told in like the early mini comics that were packed in with the toys, kind of that early mythology of Masters of the Universe. I'm wearing my Alcala style t-shirt right now, the one with He-Man-Teela on Battle Cat. Such cool art, and I love seeing these kind of old ideas revisited. And the main idea that you guys seem to be playing with in Sword of Flaws is the sword itself and the two halves of the power sword. He-Man's gray silver sword and Skeletor's purple sword. Can you guys kind of tell me about your process of that concept and coming up with this story as much as you can without spoilers, obviously?
I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened.
Okay.
Because this is news to Tim as well. No, I'm joking. I think really the origin was we loved the toys. We had the toys as a kid. They were the coolest. Those swords were awesome. The two halves equaling, whatever. And I never equaling an ultra power sword or something. I don't know exactly. It'd be like the ultimate power. And never seen that in print. I think that's actually probably the germ or the seed. It was all Tim's idea, by the way. But it's like as soon as he brought it up to me, because we were just talking about the toys and stuff like that, and the fact that has never happened. So I think that I'm speaking for Tim, but to me that has to be the origin. It was awesome in the toys. Why don't we see that in the comic?
Yeah, I mean, I think our approach to this was, a lot of the Master Universe stuff recently has been explored. The big mysteries, the origin of Skeletor, the connection of Keldor, they did that very well on Revelation, and and some of those big sort of character setups that go all the way back to pretty much the Filmation stuff, and maybe sometimes the comics, the mini comics, but they were set up there. Teela's origin is potentially becoming a sorceress, all that stuff. And I think they were explored to such logical ends that it kind of felt like, if we're going to do a new series, there's no reason to try to do those same things. So the question that Freddie and I had for ourselves was, what questions are left, basically? And I think we really wanted to, most of the sort of Master Universe stuff that's come out the last few years has been, at least to some degree, some kind of big epic or some kind of big crossover. And there hasn't been a lot of just like nuts and bolts Master of the Universe stories, like Skeletor gets a thing and he's, got some new artifact and he's going to try it out. And he's going to try to take over Eternia and try to get into Castle Grayskull, and characters get to be themselves. Man-Arms gets to be the inventor guy, and Teela gets to be the captain of the guard, and like all those things that we haven't got to see in a while. We just want to see a story like that. And our job was, how do we combine those two things? We need questions. We need something sort of in the standard canon. And then how do we make that interesting for both new fans and old fans? So this is our approach. We thought this was sort of a leftover thing. If you remember anything about He-Man, it's probably the swords. If you remember, something sort of faintly about He-Man, the question is always like, why did Skeletor have a purple one? And it's not really something that's been messed around with too much. So we kind of felt like it was low-hanging fruit. We could bring something different to it. And it was memorable, and I think it doesn't sort of step on the feet of all the stuff they set up in Revelation. Because I think Revelation does the thing where it sort of evolves Master Universe to the next thing. And we didn't really want to do that, right? We want to give you something when the Netflix movie comes out, and if you love it, or if you read Turtles of Grayskull and you love it, and you want to check out more, it's like, well, you should have a He-Man story, right? You should have a story about, Prince Adam is the secret identity of He-Man, and he has to deal with these tensions, and Orko is a goof, and Battle Cat's his steed, and all that stuff should be there. But then we should go in a different direction of sort of tilting it on its head. And so a big part of this also was when we were working on previous stuff. I think it was the Injustice thing. We got to do like the briefest of Preternia things where we had Hero there, and Freddie drew the shit out of it. And so I kind of like, I really wanted to see that too. I felt like that was important to, especially if you have these faint memories of Master Universe, there's this whole aspect of that was touched on, and then obviously we didn't get it. We didn't get the Preternia, we didn't get the
powers of Grayskull line.
So we didn't get that stuff as kids. So it felt like we could do 3 things at once, maybe. And that's the approach we had.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. I'm particularly happy that you chose to focus on the sword, because I think these swords are iconic, especially, I guess, like among fantasy blades in general, but in He-Man, like everybody knows the power sword visually as soon as you see it. And I mean, I've got a replica hanging on my wall. I collect swords just because they're fun, and it's always been one of my favorite swords to see. And like you're saying,
that sword is so iconic. It's almost like how I'm a Star Trek fan, but like real Trekkies or Trekkers or whatever, how they look at the Enterprise. Like if the sword is even slightly different or wrong, it's heavily noticed. Believe me.
Right.
And also, even youngsters will like come by the table. I'm talking about like at a convention or something, and if their parents have raised them right, they know what He-Man is, but they'll just immediately. I have like this one drawing that I did of Leonardo, and in one hand he's holding the Sword of Omens from Thundercats, and the other hand it's the Power Sword,
awesome.
from He-Man's Power Sword, and every single kid will recognize the Power Sword. Not every one of them will recognize the Sword of Omens.
Yeah.
Now that's not to put down Thundercats. I love Thundercats. I love both together. They do feel like they're in the same world, He-Man and the Thundercats. But I'm just saying it's iconic and has breached more generations. It's very recognizable. So I'm always very nervous whenever I draw it, to be real honest, that I don't mess up the shape of the hilt or just any of that. And there are different iterations of the sword, but there's a certain iconic, when when you see it, and when it's wrong, it's wrong if it's even just slightly off. So
yeah, the silhouette of the sword, it's just so perfect and clean, and so having it be the basis for this particular sort of mystery made sense. It's like we can hit a whole bunch of new fans, we can hit a whole bunch of old fans, and then we can kind of do something that wasn't going to be touched by anything else. Like, Revolution doesn't have that aspect of it. It doesn't have, it's got a different character direction that they're going in. They're really focused on the power of Grayskull itself, which is something we want to do. Is like, well, let's deal with this idea of power in Master Universe, right? The whole thing is built on this idea of like giving kids the power, like that was when you were a kid. You just want to be able to say, go to hell, Mom, I'll play my He-Man guys. And like, that was really, to some degree, the appeal, right?
Yeah.
Giving kids power, because kids don't feel like they have power, and that's obviously like a big appeal. And I think as adults, part of the question is sort of about who do we give power to and why? And what do they do with it? And that's something we really wanted to deal with. Leaders have power, and why do you choose terrible leaders sometimes?
Yeah.
Almost no one deserves power. The older I get, the more I realize almost no one deserves it, really.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is so interesting to me about He-Man getting older, is like a story about kings, and there's no democracy here, and obviously Adam is a prince, and the big question is like, you just gave the most powerful person on earth and serves a king, like that's an interesting and we talked about it a little bit, I think, in Injustice, and we've certainly dealt with it a little bit before, but it seemed like a really interesting thing to talk about now in a world where we're having to reckon with that.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that's so appealing about Prince Adam as a character, because obviously it's cool that he can turn into He-Man and become this huge barbarian that can throw boulders across the universe and stuff. But at his heart, that purity that he has is just something that's so special to see in comics. It's the Clark Kent Superman appeal. You have somebody who is, so pure-hearted that of course he's the one to safeguard this power. And I always appreciate those stories where they kind of delve into that a little bit, and specifically kind of the weight that Adam has on his shoulders with both of these roles that he has to fulfill. And just reading the first issue, I like that it seems like your storytelling is touching on that. Multiple times throughout the story, Adam's saying, okay, here I go, I have to pretend to be the doofus again and run away, and everybody hates me for it. And
my favorite move is when he doesn't want to talk about principles of leadership or power or tyranny or whatever, so he just starts stuffing his face with a sandwich.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few really funny things that appeal to my sense of humor specifically throughout this miniseries that Tim has written. So I appreciate that. There's been some stuff that I've had to draw in the past that wasn't really to my sense of humor. I'm not talking about with Tim, actually. I'm talking about with some other books. But this, I think Tim and I have a pretty overlapping sense of humor. So that is actually very funny to me, that to avoid, like, he's so powerful and he could, I'm not sure exactly what would be the best way to get out of it. I mean, he could just look at the other prince with a stone face and say, look, you're, because he's wanting to be diplomatic. So instead he just starts cramming a big sandwich. He's got like huge cheeks filled with egg salad or whatever they make on Eternia. So that's a good diversion,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So we're coming out at a time, obviously, when the new Superman movie is hitting at such a great time too, and
yeah,
obviously, He-Man, the version that we know, was heavily story-wise influenced by DC editors, right? So you had Paul Kupperberg and some of those writers going in and being like, he's kind of Shazam and he's kind of Superman. So there you go. And, that's not to demean it at all. I think that's great. So I think we wanted to use that, and we happened to time it. I didn't know how much the new Superman movie would be about that as well, which I thought, we're timing this out pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a dangling plot thread from the Filmation cartoons that I'm hoping that we can base some sort of sequel on. And there's an episode where Prince Adam, he wakes up and he is He-Man at the time. Sorry, he wakes up and he's in a gladiatorial arena. Okay, so this is not like Turtles of Grayskull. This is something different. He wakes up and he's in a gladiatorial arena, but the way that he got there. So in the episode of the Filmation cartoon, he has to fight, to get out, and he has to fight like this multi-headed thing or whatever. But earlier in that episode, the way he was knocked unconscious is that some big brute guy who snuck up on He-Man hit him with a log and knocked him out. And I thought, we have to have an origin for this log. This log cannot be a normal log. It would just have shattered on him and did nothing. It would be like a pillow that hit him. But this log, it must have had a rune that was maybe inscribed on it that you can't see. It's on camera. It's on the blind side of the camera. So we have to do like the log of unconsciousness. That'll be the next the sequel.
The Godwood. Master Universe.
Ooh, yeah.
The Godwood.
It's a branch that fell off the oldest tree in Eternia, that Grand Morrison sends you to cut down.
Perfect.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
It's made to knock out the most powerful man in the universe. It's like, like I can even picture the logo, because the word God and log can almost look like mirror reflections. It can be like God and then log underneath it. So
that's awesome.
Awesome.
So we're running out of ideas, so now we're good.
That's good for at least another 6 issues, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I've talked about this before with you, Tim, in past interviews. But one of my favorite moments that you've written was in the multiverse story that you wrote, and it's the moment where He-Man and Teela are finally kind of talking about the big secret finally coming to light, and it's Adam kind of professing his love to her and saying, it always broke my heart, that I had to lie to you all those times and pretend to be this person that I'm not. And that's always been kind of like the pinnacle of that relationship in terms of storytelling, one that I always point to as to why I love that relationship so much. And so I always like seeing it brought back, and based on what I've read so far, I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit more of that dynamic built between them. Not telling you how to write your story, but I'm just saying, that's what I like to see, and because that's interesting to me to see, people finally getting to be their true self, have their time in the sun, and be recognized for who they've been all along. I just think that's very powerful storytelling. So,
yeah, I mean the Adam-He-Man-Teela love triangle is one of my favorite things in literature, which is hilarious. It's so dumb, but that's one of my favorite things in literature. Of all the things, like the Capulets and the Montagues, but this is one of my favorite things. But it's when I was a kid, that was one of my favorite things about Master Universe 2, because I am a big girl, basically. Yeah. And so
I'm there with you.
I want to make sure that was played here, because I think the tension of that's the can't must, right? I mean, Adam, the can't must is a thing Jim Shooter came up with for Marvel Comics, by the way, which was all our heroes have to have I can't, but I must. It's totally, you think about superheroes, like that's how they always play, is like, I want to tell Aunt May or that I'm Spider-Man, but if I do, she'll have a heart attack. I can't, but I must, So that to me with Adam is that really interesting thing. And then he's also competing with himself for affections, right? Like that he wants her to notice him and see that he's becoming a better man, but he can't, because he has to be the idiot who distracts from the fact that he's He-Man, because it's dangerous for everybody to know. So that's so good. It's such a good setup. I love me a good story engine, and that's the story engine. Like you start it up and it runs, and that I think is kind of the way that we're trying to do this too. So you don't see the sort of resolution and obviously in sort of flaws. You see the nature of their relationship, though. That Adam is supposed to be on this sort of diplomatic mission, and immediately, he's got to screw things up and act like an idiot and run and act like he's afraid of everything. Which I want to make sure we saw that right off the bat, because I think that's so compelling.
Yeah, agree 100% with all of it. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into the specifics of things, because obviously this is only the first issue that's coming out, and we've got it's 4 issues. Is that right for this miniseries? Yeah. Okay. So we've got a lot of story ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to all of it. But in terms of all of the He-Man projects that you two have worked on over the years, what kind of has been your favorite part of that process for you guys, both in kind of what's your favorite story that you've been able to tell, and also what is it about Masters of the Universe that is appealing to you? And I think Tim, you kind of talked a little bit about it with what we were just talking about, but if you guys would want to wax poetic on any of that, let's hear it.
Well, I can also, obviously, I love those big things. I also love that it's a bunch of colorful little plastic men with crazy, stupid names hitting each other in the head. I mean, I love that too. I don't want to go all poetic, but I think one of the things that Freddie and I talked about this one was we got to put everybody in this. Like there's no reason why we can't use every toy, literally. So I mean, in this arc alone, you get spoilers, but you get Rock On, and you get Fearless Photog, and you get Extendar, Roboto, and Spikor, and Cobra Khan, and I could go on, and you get a whole bunch of other ones. You get, I mean, again, spoiler, don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but you get Vipor, my guys.
Awesome.
He's fun to draw. I gotta tell you, he's really fun
such
to
a
draw.
cool looking. He's
one
of the coolest new figures we've got.
You just had him there waiting.
He's on my Snake Man display back here.
Okay, I didn't see where you pulled that from. I thought it was just off camera, like you just picked him up right up out of camera.
I knew what you guys were going to talk about. I'm not good.
Yeah, I was like, we didn't arrange that. We didn't say have your Viper toy ready. I personally like drawing. I mean, the thing that I connect with the most, I think I've probably said this on a previous episode, but I was raised without a father or a father figure in my life, and so a gentle person who has lots of power and who uses it responsibly is very appealing to me, and He-Man definitely fits that bill. But so I like those themes. Tim does a great job of telling stories with those themes. But additionally, what I like to draw is, I mean, there's moments where diplomacy fails, and He-Man's just got to pick up something real big, and it's hopefully my goal is to have to be able hopefully to visually nail the quiet moments, and then those hopefully look good on their own, and then they also become a great setup for the really big loud moments, so to speak, where it's explosive action and there's a lot that's happening, and I want to be able to hit both of those. So I'm just saying I enjoy that and trying to immerse hopefully the reader. I feel immersed whenever I'm working on it every day and stuff. So that's the part that I like about it, is getting lost in that, and hopefully the readers will also feel the same way.
Awesome.
And vehicles. I always make Freddie draw vehicles. He's so good at
it. Dude, I'm struggling with them.
Well, we have a brand new one, because I love the idea that all the vehicles were sort of left over from the Great Wars, that they hadn't really built anything new, that there's all this crazy old technology, and they'd find it and be like, the hell's a Road Ripper? And then there's crazy stuff. But we kind of treat these like that. I mean, so we get to throw in a lot of Dragon Walker and Battle Ram and Spydor and whatever. We're just trying to put all the cool toys in there. But Freddie does a really good job with those. I know you build models and you sweat the entire time, but it's worth it. They look really cool.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like the organic / tech combination just of the world of He-Man. So you can get away with putting a big face on the front of something. So it's like a spider and a crab, or it's got tank treads, but it also has a dragon head kind of built onto it. So all that stuff. I'm just saying those are fun things to draw, but the geometry is pretty weird sometimes. It's hard to figure out what it looks like in perspective. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. You just have to have all the toys in your house and take pictures of them.
Get all the angles.
Yeah.
Well, I'm no artist, but from what I can tell, it doesn't look like you struggle at all drawing all those things.
Oh, thanks.
You do a great job. I love your art. So yeah, another one final point I want to make about this book that I'm happy to see is that it's kind of a focus on the big three heroes kind of this world, He-Man, Teela, and Man-At-Arms, kind of the Eternian trinity or whatever of heroes.
There you
go. We've already talked about the He-Man, Superman, comparisons that, it's easy to compare Man-At-Arms with Batman as the inventor, soldier, combat specialist. So I don't know. It seems like a fun story. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited you guys are the team working on it. As I said before, you guys are probably my favorite masters creators, for comics at the moment.
Cool.
So you guys do a great job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And those are my three favorite characters. He-Man, Man-At-Arms, and Teela. Yes, you absolutely want to see Stone Dar and buzz off and shit sometime, but those three are so perfectly created to generate more stories, and they do their relationship to each other is interesting, and they're so I'm just writing a big scene with the three of them right before I talk to you, so that's
cool. Nice. Well, I'm very excited. So issue 1 of Sort of Flaws is available next month, September, and then the other ones, will they be releasing on a monthly basis? Do you guys know at this point? That's usually what the release schedule is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you're pretty well caught up, Freddie. You're good. You've only got issue 4 left, right? So.
Yeah, I'm really close to being done with 3. So it would make sense because I'm not sure what is the release date of issue 1. By the time it comes out, I'll be done with 3. But
yeah,
you know,
it's super soon.
Yeah,
I want to say September 14th, but
yeah, somewhere.
I'll definitely be done
that sounds
with
right.
3 by then. But yeah, I just don't know. Like there were like because Turtles of Grayskull had a certain schedule, and then there was I think the holiday approvals and also me with all the crowd scenes and stuff like that just took longer than we had initially planned. So I think like issues 1 and 2 came out monthly. Then there was like a month in between for 3, and then there was like a 3-month gap until 4. I don't think that's not going to be how it is with this. I don't know. I was just not sure. I can't really speak about the publishing schedule, I guess, very well. My world is like every day is the same. It's just working until I go to sleep and then wake up and do it again. So,
Freddie, don't die on us, please. Put down that goddamn brush.
Well, awesome. So one final question, and this is one that if you can answer, feel free, but if you can't, I understand. After Sort of Flaws, is there any other Masters of the Universe projects that you guys are working on?
Yeah.
Nice.
For the immediate future, so He-Man will come out for a couple of issues, and then my first issue of Ninja Turtles. I'm the new regular Ninja Turtle artist for 6 issues, but so there will be like a 6 or 7 month chunk that's devoted to that. But there's a possibility. I would love it if after that we get to work together on something else. So for me, there's nothing because I think what Tim has immediately.
Excuse me.
Bless you. What Tim has immediately in his future, I'll be over on the Ninja Turtle stuff, and then hopefully we can weave back together later on.
Okay. Very cool.
Awesome. And then maybe we'll get Turtles Grayskull 2 or something. You know,
I would love that.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be so cool. Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
But this time it'll be 70 issues long.
Yeah,
4 issues, so we can tell every part of the story we want to.
Oh man, I learned a lot about doing that book because we really had to pack things in there. I mean, really more than I've ever had to pack things into.
I think it's because I mean you had the story is great as it is, but you just had a lot of other stuff that you would have made it even cooler, would have added even more cool spots or whatever if we could have totally expanded it more. So, and it might not sound like it depends on if you have any experience with plotting or writing, but for anybody at home who doesn't, because there's like 4 issues versus 6 issues or even versus 5 issues, it really messes with where you can put like the climactic large exclamation points in the story throughout the story. It's like it changes your pacing in a way that I mean, because I'm not a writer, I just know plot stuff. It changes the rhythm so much, it makes some stories very hard to tell. Like you have to put climactic moments, sometimes 2 or 3 in an issue, which is just, it's not what you would normally want to do, or it makes you stretch out things in other ways. So it's not like I ever saw a breakdown that was 6 issues for Turtles of Grayskull, but in my brain, I kept feeling like a 6-issue breakdown would probably have paced. It would have felt the best pace.
Yeah, sure.
But 4, I mean, Tim did a hell of a job. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying 6 would have been even better, you know.
Yeah, because that's the old the 6 issues gives you the 2 issues per 3 acts. You get extra stories and you get 2 issues. When you do a 4, you're like, you got to figure out where to slide things over, and it's somewhat less easy. But nobody gets 6 issues anymore for anything. So I'm surprised we got what we got for Sort of Flaws too. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much again for joining me today. Hopefully we can talk again when the miniseries is wrapped up and we can kind of go a little bit more into spoiler territory. But yeah, just thanks for taking the time. It's always a pleasure chatting.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Before we go, would you guys like to kind of tell people where they can find you so they can follow you and support you?
Go ahead, Freddie.
Okay. FreddieArt.com is my website. I've got a bunch of original art and other stuff on there to look at. And on Instagram, Twitter, and what is the other one?
Blue
Not
Sky?
Facebook. Nah, well, I am on Blue Sky. On a bunch of them, I'm Freddie Art. So Freddie Art, just one word. So at Freddie Art on a lot of them. And then on Facebook, I'm Freddie Williams, but I think even Freddie Art would probably bring me up on that one as well. So those are the main places. I post like maybe once a day, but in the last couple of months, I've been so busy, I've hardly posted at all because I'm like half asleep most of the time. So it's
go to bed.
Go to bed right now. It's the middle of the day. But it's like I could either spend 10 minutes composing this tweet or sleep for 10 more minutes later. I'll choose the sleep.
Yes.
So, and my wife has been helping out with posting stuff as well. So anyway, Freddie Art, freddieart.com. That's the main thing. How about you, Tim?
The usuals. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter, hacking Tim Seeley. And then what was I've been working on lately? I was going to give you a place to go. Oh, Panel Punk, our art company, Panel Punk Comics Originals. We're selling my art and a bunch of other people's stuff too, so you can check us out there.
Awesome.
And if you haven't watched it, Revival is on Peacock now, all 10 episodes.
Awesome.
There you go.
Very cool. All right. Well, I will let you guys go, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.